Why do your dates keep going nowhere? Here's a harder question. Are you actually ready for love or just saying you are? Well, in this episode, therapists Rodney Rabani and dating coach Sivan Barkhordarian break down how to stop dating on autopilot and start showing up with real intention. We're answering a powerful listener question that might just be yours too. What if I'm the one getting in my own way? If you're tired of dead end dates and ready to attract something real, this one's for you. And get ready because it's about to start now.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to 52, the podcast where we give you the tips, tools, and mindset to help you date with intention and build a relationship that lasts. I'm Kelly, a former tech attorney here in New York, now helping singles become the best and truest version of themselves.
I'm Rodney Rabani here in Beverly Hills, a marriage and family therapist, as well as a dating and relationship coach.
And if you've ever felt like dating today is a bit chaotic, if you're wondering why your matches feel off, or how to create something real, this episode is for you because today we're diving into intention. How are you showing up in dating? What are you putting out there? And what's actually drawing in the kind of person you want to attract? And today we're joined by someone who's helping people move past surface level dating and into something real. Our guest is Sivan Barkhordarian, a dating and relationship coach who empowers her clients to build meaningful connections, whether they're navigating the dating world or working to strengthen long-term partnerships. Sivan brings something we all need more of in our love lives: clarity, confidence, and compassion. In a time when human connection feels more difficult than ever, she offers the tools and insight to help us date more intentionally and love more deeply. So on that note, please join me in welcoming Sivan. Sivan, we are so excited to have you here today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and I can't wait to dive deeper into everything that everybody wants to know about.
Amazing. We're so happy to have you here. So to our listeners, grab your coffee or your tea, maybe even a journal, because this one's going to hit deep. Let's get started. Are you ready, guys?
Yes,
Yeah.
let's do it.
All right. So we have a 29-year-old girl in San Diego who shares that she keeps going on dates that go nowhere. Either the guy is unclear or fizzles after 2 dates or meetups. But she realized she's also been showing up in autopilot mode, half interested, half guarded. She wants love, but she isn't sure if she's actually acting like it. So she's curious to know, how should she date with more intention? So Sivan, our first question here is, what does it really mean to show up to dating with intention?
It means that you have a clear idea of exactly what you're looking for. And you're not only clear about it, but you're actually committed to finding it. So it comes down to how you're approaching it and making sure that you approach it with purpose, with honesty, authenticity, and not just kind of like in it to see where it goes. So really coming in with clarity.
And why is it so important to first look at how we're showing up before blaming dating apps or other people that we're meeting or going on dates with?
You know, I think that we have to remember that we're first and foremost responsible for ourselves. So if you're coming in from a perspective of cynicism and questioning how other people are showing up, you're not really taking responsibility about how you're showing up. So if you're excited about things and have a clear direction on what it is you're looking for, it creates for a different environment that will potentially give you what it is you're looking for.
One other thing that you pointed out in this scenario with this 29-year-old girl, it sounds like she's kind of losing motivation on dating, um, and getting dating fatigue, which is a thing. And you have to find the joy and pleasure and happiness to go on these dates. Otherwise, the person sitting across from you is going to feel you being a little checked out too.
To add something to that, I think that sometimes it's very normal to fall into this cycle of feeling that dating burnout, and it is important to remove yourself, but with the right amount of time. So, you're removing yourself, for example, off the apps, but giving yourself, a couple days to reset, reignite that excitement, and then jumping back in. But dating burnout is a real thing. But once you reset, you can recreate that motivation and excitement for yourself.
So what are some patterns or self-sabotaging behaviors you've seen in clients who want love but are afraid of it at the same time.
People have like a long checklist of what they're looking for or want to find the perfect person. That's internally subconscious way of not wanting it or fearing it. A lot of people say they want love, but they'll do these little quirky things that show they have some fear of intimacy or real connection.
A common pattern I see with my single clients who have fear associated with dating usually comes from either insecurities or not necessarily having a clear vision on what it is they're looking for. I think they question their worth and what they actually deserve. And something that I find really interesting is that so many times when I ask people, what is it that you're looking for? Like, do you know what your negotiables are, your non negotiables? They don't really have a clear answer. And so I think when you're going into meeting somebody or assessing, like, could this be the person, but you don't have a clear idea of what exactly it is, like, you're willing to compromise on or like not settle for, how are you supposed to find the right fit for yourself?
So true.
Yeah.
So true. So how could someone start creating more alignment between their desires and their actions, especially when, past disappointment has made them guarded or even jaded?
Honestly, when I do start my work with my single clients, the first thing I do is we have this assignment where we really, really like clarify things that we're willing to negotiate on and things that are deal breakers for us. And I think when you have this alignment of exactly what you're willing to compromise on, because all relationships take compromise, and things that are foundationally could be issues in your relationship or things that you're not willing to budge on, I think you just have such a clear idea of, what will work for you, which will essentially allow you for a stronger foundation with someone when you meet them.
The only thing is that sometimes when it comes down to it, we do tend to get picky, which is fine, but there is a difference between being picky and having standards.
Right.
So, can you explain the difference between being picky, which could sometimes block us, and simply having standards, like those values or non negotiables?
It's kind of really being realistic about the fact that you kind of accepting that you're not going to find everything it is that you're looking for. But if you can think of a handful of things that are just essentially really important to you, whether it's religion, how someone handles their finances, their relationship with family and friends, if you have that foundation, it kind of allows you a little bit more flexibility with other things that maybe you could budge on, whether it's like you don't, align on your music choices or things that bring you joy, like hobbies. And it's okay and great to have differences in relationship as long as the foundation is really strong.
Could sometimes being too picky be like a guard, like kind of like oh, I don't want to get attached. I'm scared. Could that kind of be like a excuse almost?
100%. A lot of people subconsciously don't realize that they have a fear of intimacy or they have some trauma for whatever reason holding them back from getting into something serious. It could be a past relationship, it could be from childhood or whatever it is. So they create this long list of things they're looking for, which we label as picky. And to answer your question, that everyone should get to a level of what they're looking for. And there should be some deal breakers, there should be some non negotiables. But no one teaches us what's important and what should be prioritized to look for. And I think it's good to have an idea or some type of recipe of what's important. I always say attraction is one of those big components, shared values, and long term goals. Those are three things that really need to be there, as well as emotional availability. Everything outside of that is kind of just like a bonus. Again, we all have our non negotiables that you should keep, but everything outside of that is more of a bonus. And if you're putting too much weight on those external things, like, the kind of car he drives, or what color her hair is, or X, Y, and Z, if it's not disgusting you, if it's not a non negotiable, then you're being picky.
Sivan, one thing you brought up is the importance of dating with intention. And if this girl isn't ready to start dating, maybe she doesn't know what she wants or she's feeling jaded or exhausted, she should take a step back and really determine what it is she wants. So, based on that, insight that you gave, what questions should singles ask themselves before getting on a dating app when they're actually looking to date with intention?
I think the most important question is what's important to me? Because that's such a personal question. What's important to me might not be important to you. So, really being genuine and vulnerable with your answer to yourself so that there's so many outside voices, especially when you're dating. Like everyone has their opinion on who you go on dates with and what they think of them. But the truth is, at the end of the day, you're ultimately the one spending your time with them, your life with them. And so it has to align with what it is you're looking for. So I think really asking yourself, what is important to me? Not how it looks to everybody else, but to me.
That's great advice. Our listener here, she's saying that not even just about her. When she goes on these dates with guys, what happens a lot is it fizzles out or they'll disappear. So, how do you coach someone who says they want a relationship but keeps getting attracted or attached to people who clearly don't?
So it really comes down to how long are you letting these relationships go on for, right? So in the beginning, you really have to let somebody show you who they are and what it is that they want. So if they're showing you signs of, not being committed, not being consistent, giving you this space to question where you stand with them, those are all answers. You might not hear it in like clear form where they're like, okay, hey, I'm not interested in you. But if all the signs are pointing to them not showing up the way you would want your partner to show up, that is a clear answer.
So like easily said, it's just, practicing it. It's so much harder.
You also have to remember that in the beginning stages of dating, you don't fully know the person and they don't know you. So the extent that you take it personally also has to be you have to have your boundaries on how much you're going to let that affect you, let it in. At the end of the day, when you know your worth, it really comes down to like what you're willing to put up with or feel like, hey, I deserve this or I don't deserve this.
Absolutely. And, you're bringing that up right now. I'm very curious to know, how can someone use the early dating phase, like the first few weeks, to gather clarity without falling into that fantasy?
One of the things I suggest like frequently is putting yourself in different situations with that person. So, yeah, of course, the first couple of dates, you go have a drink or coffee and then dinner. But after a couple of dates, mix it up. Go to a concert, do daytime activities, watch how they handle people in social environments, whether it's the host, observe. I think it's like opening your ears and observing how they're treating people around them. Like, is this somebody you would be proud to be associated with, feel like it aligns with how you handle people in your life? So kind of mixing up the dates and not just going to dinner and having drinks, that's fun, but after a couple, it's nice to do other things.
You said something really important, though. I think a lot of people start to fantasize of what it could look like and what it could be, and it's very dangerous. And for whoever's listening, that's one thing that I point out to my clients or singles that I talk to. You got to be very careful having certain internal boundaries, not to fantasize about the altar with this person or engagement or you need to date at a pace that is comfortable and healthy and not really overshoot what can be without knowing this person entirely.
100%. And going back to intention and dating with intention, being in a relationship with intention, intention is really key. Being
Mhm.
present and being there. So for people already in a relationship, what are signs that you're showing up with intention? And what are signs that, you're avoiding deeper connection?
If there's a clear level of empathy and a clear sign that you're both putting in the work or that you're putting in the work to make the relationship move forward. I think people sometimes lose sight of that. They think just because you get married, it's done. Or if you're in a long-term relationship, you get comfortable. I tell my clients that are married or in long-term relationships, I'm like, you need to have that date night every week. And you have to put in the work and you have to show a clear message to your partner that you still want to understand them, and you still want to give to them, and you still have empathy towards what they care about, and just make it fun. Keep it fun.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, it's what you just said is spot on. I think it's really important to continue to really just date your partner. You know, when you meet, you make this effort to date, to have them feel heard, to show up in a certain way. And I think it's really important to carry that through in a marriage, in a relationship with someone, really prioritizing that one on one time, listening to them, as Rodney said, being compassionate with them. Life just, life gets busy, and it's so important, even if you're exhausted, to take that time to whatever it is, have that glass of wine, stay up after you put the kids down and ask them about their day. I think really prioritizing and not taking that relationship for granted is such an important thing to kind of keep in the forefront of your mind, really at all times.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Great tips, guys. Really, thank you. You really helped bring clarity to some big questions today that so many singles are struggling with right now. Sivan, where can our singles find you and connect with your work?
You can find me on my website, sivanbar, sivanbar.com, or on Instagram as Sivan. Also will be tagged in our stories. So through there, through 52.
Awesome. Amazing. And Rodney, thank you also for always sharing your amazing wisdom and dating tips. Rodney, where can our listeners connect with you and find more of your work?
On Instagram, Rodney Rabani, and I also have a Facebook page. It's called Question of the Day.
Awesome. And to everyone listening, if you've ever doubted yourself, felt confused in love, or wondered whether you're doing this dating thing right, know that you're not alone. Growth starts with awareness, and today was a powerful step forward. So, on that note, happy dating. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
The content in this podcast is for entertainment and is not mental health, medical, or personal relationship counseling. It is not a substitute for professional expertise and judgment from a licensed healthcare or mental health professional. You should seek the advice of a qualified professional when seeking mental health or medical advice to obtain a diagnosis or any treatment regarding your mental health or well-being. The content in this podcast may not be applicable to you and your specific situation. Topics discussed in this podcast may include information that may be considered sensitive or emotionally charged to some people, and therefore listener discretion is advised. References to third-party resources are for informational purposes only, and 52 Inc. takes no responsibility for the content of those resources. This podcast is copyrighted 2025 by 52 Inc., all rights reserved.